Technology has made it possible for global business management and communication to occur across language barriers more smoothly than ever before. Hello and welcome to another edition of Business Matters, where business truly matters. I am Ejiro Sam Umuru. It has enabled companies to compete fiercely by establishing locations in many countries and effectively creating, sharing, and disseminating ideas, products, or services to their employees and partners and customers worldwide. Let's take our business updates.
In recent times, the focus has been on the youth activism and empowerment globally. This is because youths are the key agents for development and peace. It is on this background that an event with the theme 2018 Youth Debate from Potential to Reality was organized to explore strategies to foster a paradigm shift in the norm by arguing for greater inclusion of youths in the implementation of interventions targeted at the socio-economic advancement and that of the nation.
The third thing that was important for that country was quality investments in public goods and services.
Some of the speakers suggested the way forward as their message to the youths.
The thing is to look at the rest of the world and to see that even some that are young in other societies did not wait. They made things happen.
Hope is not a strategy. If you have hope and you don't take the concrete, constructive steps that are required for you to be able to make progress, it's going to be extremely difficult for us to rise as a nation.
It is very, very important that we are careful about the words that we speak and the words that we hear, because faith cometh by hearing and hearing.
For the organizer, it is time to change the narrative, which she said was what inspired the theme for this year's event.
One of the narratives we also want to change is that all these entitlement rights has to stop. You are not entitled to anything. The world is there, laid at your feet. Go get it, right?
Some of the youths who participated had this to say.
It provoked that will, that desire to get involved. We understood that as youths, the future belongs to us. So if we don't act now, then when are we going to act?
The event has inspired me to change the narratives, not just pointing, accusing fingers at others. We see that we are just pointing, accusing fingers. But the truth is, nothing will change except to change.
The society that we have today, the leaders we have today, are produced by the society. They were not imported. They were in this society. They grew up here. So, the question now is, where and how did we get here? What went wrong?
It is crystal clear that Nigerian youths is a socio-economic and human capital goldmine that can catapult Nigeria from an emerging economy to a major world economy if allowed to be at the forefront of global change and innovation.
Youth empowerment and entrepreneurship are keys to green economy and sustainable development of any nation. It is against this background that Hedge Series Student Summit, tagged Green Economy Tool, Building Sustainable Technologies, was organized in Lagos. The organizer of the summit speaks.
The Hedge Series Summit was put together basically to help promote the spirit of enterprise in young people and give a platform where they can get to hear from those who have gone ahead of them as to how they got to where they are and how they can also learn how to become to get to where they need to get to.
Speakers at the event say that creativity, innovation, empowerment, and the use of internet facilities are tools to building a sustainable business enterprise.
We live in the country now, in the world,
where the internet has given everybody an equal opportunity. So they need to embrace that opportunity, learn online, use the internet, not just using the internet to be online and just take selfie, post it every time, but actually use it to build their own business or to add value to other people's business and add value for profit.
Just because my friend is into pure water business and is successful does not necessarily mean that I'll be successful in it. Basically, they need to find what makes them tick. They need to look at every opportunity as having fun, not as making money at first.
Whatever idea you have, look for a way where you can start small and learn the rudiments of all the risk associated with the idea. Go through the idea full-blown model, and you go start from start to finish, and you're able to see all the risk involved. And then at the end of the day, by the time you come back to say you want to scale that idea, you would have learned a lot around how you can improve the business, how you can scale without having so many issues. So
some of the students bear their minds on the summit.
Looking for problem in the immediate environment and preferring solutions to it. By that way, I'll be adding my quota to the larger economy and, of course, being the boss of myself too. That, of course, is an impact, something that I'm going home with.
Starting with 5,000 naira as a capital from a business, you should know what you get. Once you use that 5,000 naira, know what you get as your income and should know how to utilize it and how to make yourself indispensable, how to make yourself as a worthy character in life.
I've learned how to be an entrepreneur and how to manage an entrepreneur, which Mr. Wale have enlightened us about that.
It is aimed at empowering Nigerian youth with business-oriented skills that will enable them to compete in any business environment.
Up next, closing figures from the floor of the Nigerian Stock Exchange.
Improvements in technology have made businesses to become much more responsive in Nigeria. In fact, businesses do not operate in a vacuum. They operate in an environment which has a tremendous effect on the success or failure of the business owner. Welcome to our professional segment. Joining us today is Jide Ipaye. He holds a BSc in microbiology from the University of Lagos. He is a serial entrepreneur and he is also the founder of Kicks, a footwear production company based in Lagos, Nigeria. And he has over 15 years experience in technology and strategy. Welcome, Jide.
Thank you very much for having me, Ejiro.
Thank you so much for coming to talk to us here at NTA. So we are talking about global technology.
Yes.
How would you describe the business environment in Nigeria? Because generally, a business, the environment always has an impact on the business. How would you describe the environment here?
Well, I mean, we are basically a fledgling country. We're growing. Of course, we've got our challenges in terms of the operational environment. But obviously, with technology as well, we can try to leapfrog in terms of how we do business, especially with places outside of our own immediate environment. Mm-hmm. And so I think the opportunities are there, the challenges are there, but it's all about trying to find a way to leverage technology to bridge some of those gaps.
So what are some of the ways that we can leverage technology?
Okay, so I think the first one would be cloud computing. It's a term that is being used loosely, but it's basically saying that you've got internet access now, and you've got technology which is not necessarily where you are based. Okay. And with the power of the internet, you're able to leverage of software, servers, things that a typical big business would have had to spend millions of dollars or naira on, being accessible now to a small business as what you call software as a service or hardware as a service or technology as a service. So they can begin to pay a monthly fee for maybe as low as $10 or in some cases less to be able to access the same type of software that some of the big businesses in those days would have had to spend a lot of money on.
Okay, we'll build more on that
Right.
later on.
Yes.
How would you describe the relevance of technology in a business?
Well, today, the business of today is we want to be global. We also want to be able to leverage or reach out to people a lot faster. So technology does a lot of that for you. Even if you have what you call business processes, you can begin to automate them. So if you had to hire 10 people to do a certain task, with the use of technology in some cases, you can limit that to fewer people to be hired and then try to get a software or a solution that can enable you to do it faster or easier. Right.
And there are so many companies that have leveraged the use of technology.
Right.
And could you highlight some of the innovations that have taken place in the technological sphere?
Okay, so we'll talk about voice over IP. This is something that we take for granted nowadays, but once upon a time, if you remember in those early days, you had to go to a NITEL booth to make an international call. Now, think about the fact that you've got a mobile phone on your hands now, you've got WhatsApp, and you're actually calling someone in the United States or in Australia. This is something that we're taking for granted now, but in those days it wasn't available, and that's leveraging the internet again to make, voice calls across a divide. You've got social media, which is something that
my next question.
We obviously are beginning to see the impact both in political space as well as businesses leveraging that to grow their businesses. And even in some cases, do market research with.
And how do you do market research?
So for example, in some cases, when we have a new product we want to introduce in the market, we could sometimes take an image of that product and then put up a post on Instagram and actually ask our followers to give us feedback with regards to this. In some cases, you can actually do a poll of yes or no, white or black. I mean, recently we had, an extensive debate about a pair of sneakers, whether the sole should be white or black. And we found out that there was actually a market for both. So rather than choosing one, we decided to do both because we were able to do that market research.
Okay. And how would you say digital marketing in general has changed the business environment or the sphere of business, not just social media, but digital marketing?
Well, I'll say it's been both a positive and a negative, depending on what side of the divide you find yourself. So once upon a time, it was traditional marketing.
Yes.
And you therefore had to spend huge amounts of money on billboards, pay for TV networks. A lot of advertising agencies were initially built on that platform. And they had grown exponentially. And then suddenly social media came. And now the average small business owner has access to some of these same resources at a huge fraction of the cost. So to some sides of the market that did not evolve quickly, especially advertising, they've probably lost out quite a bit. But also for the small businesses that are starting up now, you can literally start a business from your bedroom or over your phone, and suddenly you are reaching out to the entire world. So it's a huge, huge opportunity, and it's closed the divide generally in terms of reaching out to consumers now.
Okay. And I agree with what you said. Some businesses have been left behind because they have not moved on with the times.
Yes.
How would you advise those businesses to integrate digital marketing, social media into their business model?
Well, for people who are not, we've got something called the bell curve with adoption of technology and new things. Some people take their time to get onto these platforms. You have two options. Either you go to a school to learn how to do it, or you hire someone who's competent. Or in some cases, you even have small companies that you can outsource some of these services, to. So suddenly you don't necessarily need to do it yourself, but you can get someone to do it. But what is most important is you need to make sure that the communication that is going out is a true representation of your business, your brand, and whatever message you want to get across to potential consumers.
Okay. And how has technology affected the economy?
Hugely. I mean, for example, there's a site called Fiverr.
Yes.
Fiverr is a website where you can get to do a job for just $5. I know I've been proud to see a few Nigerians that are using that platform. Some of these people are unemployed youths. They have certain, skills that are available to them, graphic design, some people can sing on Fiverr, some people can draw. And so suddenly you have access to job opportunities or a business opportunity for you to offer a service to someone who you've never met before. So it's creating job opportunities, it's connecting the divide. I mean, even telecoms has leveraged extensively on that, And so there are new markets that are springing up every day.
Yes.
So it's been a very, very positive, impact on our economy.
And building up on that,
right.
How would you say how has technology had an influence or impacted entrepreneurship?
Case in point for us, I mean, we started Kicks in 2015 through a global crowdfunding project. We had a business idea, we wanted to take it to the market, and we decided to take an unconventional approach to raise money, which was to design the products, put it up on the internet, and get people to pre-order. I mean, if we didn't have a good idea or a good product, then we'll have known for sure that it didn't make sense. So rather than take money from friends and family, damage the relationship, we were able to leverage the internet and social media to raise the first round of early adopters of our product and brand, and they've also become evangelists for us. And from then, I've been able to scale our business drastically.
And earlier you spoke about using cloud.
Yes.
Could you build more on that?
So cloud computing, for example, every business that especially has what you call a B2C approach, which is business to consumer or business to customer, you tend to have a lot of large quantity of information about these customers. You need a customer relationship management software, for example, to handle that data. So now with cloud computing, you can pay for a software over the internet that acts as your customer relationship management software. Maybe for as low as $10 a month or less, you now have your database online. You can send emails to them. You can gather data from there. You can do a lot of things. You can schedule appointments. There's so much you can do. And if you want to go to the extreme, you have what you call enterprise resource planning, which is ERP. So you have your accounting, you have your HR, you have your customer relationship, you have your project management. So there's several things. And also you can begin to store data in the cloud. So your files, in case you want to, save pictures, documents, you now have it online. And that means as you're moving around anywhere in the world, suddenly you have access to your data, even on your mobile phone.
Yes.
So these are some of the technologies that you can use through the cloud to leverage your business. So suddenly you become global,
Yes. And what are qualifications that you need to make sure that you are technologically savvy?
Right. Well, there are always two sides to every scenario. One is if you're too old to adopt technology, or you're so focused on the strategic aspect of the business, then you might want to get someone who is younger and more competent in that aspect to buttress that area. Otherwise, you have to go for training. And also with the advent of internet and YouTube, there's so many free, trainings and materials that you can actually access
free of
to
charge.
learn. Yeah, absolutely free, that you can leverage to learn some of these technologies.
And have you leveraged some of
We
that?
have been fortunate. I mean, we did crowdfunding through a site called Kickstarter.
Yes.
A lot of research had to go into, learning how to crowdfund. We had to do a lot of data gathering and understanding, and we had to use the internet to do that.
Data gathering on...
So, for example, what are the statistics? What is the success rate of a crowdfunding project?
Okay.
How many people actually succeed to raise the desired amount? What are the challenges? What are the pitfalls? How many customers or how many potential people do we need to reach in order to meet a desired financial target?
Okay.
So all of that information we've had to gather, both from the internet and also offline.
Okay. And crowdfunding is online. Why did you choose this method as opposed to, taking a loan from a bank or maybe asking for help from family members?
Well, I'd been fortunate to have started three other businesses prior to Kicks, and some of the lessons learned were a lot of us in Nigeria don't understand how to start a business lean. So there's a lean startup methodology starting a business, and that means you try to minimize how much money you put in at the inception. You want to focus more on what you create called a minimum viable product. Okay, how can you ensure that you can generate revenue as early as possible? So if you get people to look at your product, they like it, they're willing to pay for it in advance or pre-order the product. That's an early sign that you've got something going. And even within that process, you can begin to get feedback from the market and use that to, improve on that product. So when you now decide to eventually get money from external sources, you're not going to be wasting the money because there's a learning curve to every business. So you want to minimize the risk of financial exposure. And as your business starts to grow further, then you can go to a bank, because the bank is the last item on the list in terms of getting funding. They're not going to take risks with startups.
Exactly.
They want to see that you gained some significant traction. So that's a very quick way or a safer way to start a business.
And crowdfunding, you don't have to pay back with interest. The money is given to you based on your proposal, is it?
Well, there are different types of crowdfunding.
Okay.
I don't know how much time we have, but there's equity-based crowdfunding, in which case you're asking people to invest in your business in terms of equity. There's debt-based, which is you're borrowing money. And then there's also reward-based. So we took the reward-based approach, which was to say, we have a product, it's going to cost us $50 or $100 to produce. We're asking you to give us money to pre-order the products, and then we're going to production, and then we send it to you when it's done. So that's the approach we took. So people pre-ordered the products through crowdfunding.
Okay. And before we let you go, could you advise small and medium enterprises on how they can leverage social? I know we spoke about it earlier, but just a few last words. How they can leverage technology in their business.
I think the first thing is an education. You need to get educated about technology, social media, and all that, so that you understand all the options you have. And then you also begin to understand which of the technologies are optimal for your nature of business. So for example, you can't use everything. So for example, for a fashion brand, you find that Instagram is a very strong tool for that. For businesses that are maybe consultancy based, in some cases Twitter might be more useful because you can send information tips. Email marketing might be more useful because you're taking an information sharing approach as opposed to visuals. So your business drives what type of technology to use, and also the cost of adopting that technology. Not just starting it from day one, but ensuring that you're consistent. So you need to consider your total cost of ownership from day one before you go into that technology.
Jide Ipaye, thank you very much for your time.
Thank you very much, Ejiro.
Finally is our business success tips.
Technology around the globe has been able to make companies to flourish and undoubtedly changed the way businesses interact with customers and other stakeholders internally and externally. Technology, though not without its drawbacks, but the advantages of the global business environment outweighs the cons. That wraps up this week's edition on Business Matters. Please do reach us on our various social media platforms. Till I come your way next time, I am Ejiro Sam Umuru. Thanks for watching.